And then there we go. So welcome everyone to yet another faculty meetup. We're so glad you are here and we have the opportunity to be together, to be healthy so that we can enjoy each other's company. Our facilitators today are Jennifer, who is a math professor at Jefferson Community and Technical College, and Kathleen, who is the CEO and founder of All Me Education. Welcome. We're so glad you are here and the floor is yours. Go ahead.
All right. Hi, everyone. Where is Jennifer? There she is. Okay, because I'm like, I got to find in my Brady Bunch squares where everyone is. We're gonna, this is gonna be casual. I'm really looking forward to hearing from you guys. I'm teaching a class this fall, and I definitely have had things that have come up related to some of the things that we're going to talk to you about. So I have some questions for you guys, and I'm looking forward to hearing like what questions you guys have and what solutions you possibly have as well. Because yes, I mean, as Benaz mentioned, I do have my own company, but I still teach as well, part-time. All right, so first thing we want to know is, so if you can find the chat box, I don't know, let's see, how many people do we have? We've got 16. Let's go ahead and use the chat. We'll do it this way. What we like everybody to do is go to the chat and type, but don't hit enter, but just type, like, why are you here today? What are you hoping to get out of this conversation? We want your time to be well spent. So we want to know, what do you want to get out of today?
And you can go ahead and hit enter. We don't need to have them all pop up at once like we might do in a classroom. I know I've done that. I did that at a conference. I've used it with my students when I ask a math question and I don't want the fast students to answer it quickly. I will have them wait to hit enter, but please, by all means, jump right in and go ahead and share.
Because one of the things that we're going to do in this is it's not a presentation on our end. It's an idea of having a discussion, and the idea is, whoever can share on different things. Definitely, there's some things that I'm sure Jennifer and I can both share on, but we want to hear from you as well.
Joe class. Free websites and resources, yes. Virtual learning, yeah. Very different, Marvin. Online and remotely. I like the way, Brett, I like the way you talk about teaching online and remotely, because that's something that hasn't always been part of the conversation, is this idea of remote synchronous teaching. Oh, nice, Karen.
Yeah, where is Karen? There's, okay.
Okay, and I may have a barking dog here in just a moment.
Thomas, I bet we will get those today. What are we struggling with? Because I know I have one right off the bat and then I'll wait and share mine because we have some other things. But there's definitely something that I'm struggling with teaching this fall that I would love to get impact, or impact. It's later in the day. Input. There's a difference from you guys of what you're doing.
Well, hopefully their input will have a positive impact. See, so
one can hope. Let's go with that.
Well, thank you. So one of the things that we, at least that I feel that has come true during the past year and a half is that distance learning is not necessarily equivalent or the same to online learning as perhaps it might have been traditionally defined. So what formats are you all using to teach this fall? For those of you who are in the classroom, obviously not everyone is in the class, they may be presenting. So go ahead and type it in the chat. I'm actually on sabbatical this semester, but I managed to convince my Vice President of Academic Affairs to let me teach virtual or / remote synchronous classes. So it was neither an asynchronous online class nor an in-person class. and I met my students via Zoom. So that was a very positive experience. So what formats are you all using? Remote, live, synchronous. That is so exciting. Okay, hybrid. Go ahead. Online only, face-to-face hybrid. So Sally, are you doing all three of those in the same semester? So Sally's doing.
Let me get my mic turned on. I had it muted. So yes, I have 3 hybrid classes on campus. I have 1 class, college algebra, that meets 2 days a week. And I have 2 courses that are totally online. So I have 6 courses this semester and all. And the other day, I've got a lot of my students are on quarantine. So I have the teacher station in the classroom, and I'm bringing my laptop and logging on to Blackboard Collaborate so they can participate, those that are on quarantine. So I'm trying to help because they wanted to be part of the class, even though they physically couldn't be in the classroom. And that was the easiest way to do it for them, because I had things I wanted to share on the screen. And so taking my laptop and setting it up, they could log on and they could see everything that was on the board and could listen to the conversation.
Okay, so that was my big question that I have for this fall, because the thing that I've noticed, and I'm curious, probably most people at this point have started their semester, except maybe if you're on quarters, you might be still on break, I'm not sure. But my students, I could tell right off the bat, they want the benefits of remote, but they still want to be able to attend in person, because we are in person, but they still want, they want to be able to miss and know that the entire class is recorded. And I've been really struggling with trying to come up with the best way to do the technology, because when I teach in my classroom, I've got the document camera, and we fill out notes, we do activities. Sometimes I go to the board. We're regularly looking on things on the computer, on the screen. So I'm trying to figure out the logistics of how, if I want to capture what I'm doing, what's the best way to do the technology on that?
This was the first time that I had actually tried to do that with the class, and the student felt like it really was helpful, because there were things I wanted to share, and I have a document camera and I put things up, and we use a math program, a Pearson product, and sometimes I like to work problems on the board so they can see how to do it. And I'm in a computer lab. I have my students log on, so this student could still do those things and still be kind of part of the class and participate.
So it's because you have your laptop on and you're just switching to, like, if they want to see you at the board, are you literally just switching to the laptop camera?
Yeah, I'm using I have them go into Blackboard Collaborate, and I join and have my it's on, and they said they could see the board, and we checked sound and everything. And it's just like if I'm sitting in front of the computer, like here we're talking, you can see me. Well, I get out of the way of the camera, and they could then see what is up on the board. And of course, I would walk in front and talk just like I normally do.
Okay, so Aradana has her hand, or him, I'm not sure. We have a hand up. If we could hear from you.
Hi, Kathleen. So my question to you is, you're asking how can you provide the best instruction while you are using the document camera. So question is, did you analyze your teaching, and where do you think it needs improvement? Then we can help you, or I can help you.
Well, I mean, what I'm doing with them, when I do my face-to-face class, the way that I'm teaching is it is working for students, because we do so many different things. We do group activities, we do whole class, we look at technology, it's a stats class, and we're looking at data. That piece is working. When I was doing this last fall and I was teaching it fully remote, I did live, just Zoom synchronous sessions, and tried to emulate the same thing on my screen. What I'm struggling with is, it is working for the students that are in class. I just want to be able to, in a sense, record that, and the out of class students be able to, to see what we did. But I feel like however I'm going to do that, one group or the other is going to suffer, not get the full experience. just by the, I don't know. I don't know how to balance it all. Let's see. We had Trish and Marianne. If you guys want to weigh in, how you know, what you're finding that's working, I'd love to hear it.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. One of the things I do that I just kind of stumbled into is I have my classroom computer that has a webcam that I log into, and that is always the video. And then you can log in with as many different other devices on your same Zoom account as you want.
Sure.
And I kind of run the share screen from my own device instead of the classroom computer. So, you know, if I'm trying to share something, they can always see my video from my classroom computer. So they kind of know that I'm multiple people on this screen. You can spotlight your classroom computer so the video's large, unless you share your screen, then it kind of takes over. So that's one of the things I've done. I don't know if that's helpful.
It is. And actually what I'm realizing is what would solve this problem is the computer that's in my classroom is just a regular desktop that doesn't have a webcam. But I have extra ones. I don't know, last year with my kids, my college kids, and just different things, I ended up with more than I know what to do with now. And I'm like, I could just take one of those and attach it, and that would give me, and be able to log in through Zoom.
And one thing I
go
do,
in and play with it, I think.
Yeah. And one of the things I do that's just very low tech is I take a look at my webcam and kind of draw the edges of my webcam on my whiteboard. So I have this box on my whiteboard, so I know exactly, okay, this is where I can write. And my remote students can see. And that's just helped me to be able to quickly, you know, determine, can they see the board if I want to scribble something on the board.
Do you have students when you do this? I mean, because are you saying that you're doing this for both in class and students that are at home, that they're both watching?
So it has evolved. I'm at a small campus. So right now I have students at home, I have students in the classroom, and I have students at other campuses in a classroom at another campus. So I have different kinds of students. So it's a challenge because every single group is a prep. The home students, the in-class students, and then the remote students at a different campus.
Yeah, wow, that is a lot. Because what I'm wondering too is, because I like this idea of things you want to do, and I want to go in and just like kind of like play this weekend. I want to go like to my classroom because I can do that and get in there when they don't have something going on. Are you finding that you have students that would be in the face-to-face that don't attend and they just stay remote because they could?
I do. I have some students who choose because they live. I had one student last semester that said, you gave me 2 hours of my day back every time we have class, because they were an hour away from campus and they came to campus and, you know, had to come back and forth. I've also had students that choose to be at home that don't do well there. And if they're just picking to be at home because it's easier and they don't want to crawl out of bed, I will allow them to do that unless they get unresponsive. I don't do Zoom ghosting. Once you start to be a Zoom ghost, I just talk to the individual student and say, you know what, you need to come to class because you signed up for a seated class. And you need to show up, and you're not answering me when I talk to you on Zoom. So,
okay,
you know,
this is awesome.
So some idea I thought I did teach using document camera while even if it was face to face, because my hands start hurting or whatever. My doctor said, you know, use the document camera. So what do? I take a bunch of white papers and I project that through the computer on the projector in the classroom. And then I take those notes write in very carefully when I'm teaching, and then I scan that and send that each day to student. Same thing you can do as a remote. You can, write things, notes while you're recording this all. I mean, both you can record also and take the notes also, and then send your notes every single day. In the notes also, you can embed the question the way you are doing the face-to-face. Let's say you're teaching line or linear, equation in 2 variable. And then how are you going to start? Whatever you're going to do, introduction, at some point you can ask, oh, here is y is equal to 2x plus 3. What's the slope? Yeah. So I would just go write in the notes, what is the slope? At that point, the student who is not in the classroom can still going to stop there. What is the slope of y is equal to 2x plus 3? So basically, everything you're doing in the face-to-face, you can, I would just write things, just write it down. Simple example, when I introduce line, I ask, first thing I don't teach, I don't just tell what is line. I ask the student what they think line. Then they will say, oh, line means a straight line. Line is this or that. And then I just write their answer. I put a line and put an arrow. I don't say their name, who said it, but they out loud say in the classroom. So exactly that I write in the paper, and then they see, oh, these are the mistakes. So line is what they thought it's something. They'll say it's a slope, it's a this intercept, that intercept, but actually they didn't learn the line. Algebraic expression for a line is blah, 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 whatever. Ax plus by plus c is equal to 0. So these things, why even if you're not, synchronous, you're doing synchronous or asynchronous, whatever, but you can write these exactly what they're saying, where you're going to stop, how you're going to ask them question, what is your answer in that manner. And that's helpful. And they see that again. And so their homework problems or whatever that is aligned with what you did in the classroom. So they're kind of forced to go to see the notes which you wrote. You're teaching line, what is the slope of y is equal to 2x plus 3 there? The student needs to stop a little bit to understand, where is the slope or what is the slope, things like that. That's a thought I have.
It's so funny that you mentioned that, because that's a really doable and effective idea, because I just realized anytime that we do an activity, I will post the page that we have that of whatever the activity that we do. And then because the ones I do in class with them, the activities I do, we always collect class data. And so I'll have that on a sheet and I'll take a picture and post that as well. But it's funny that you mentioned, because I have a notes packet that we fill out. I provide the blank notes to my students in our LMS or in Canvas, but I could very easily snap a picture at the end of each class and provide the filled out version. I have it right there. So
one thing I liked it a lot, because when I'm teaching the face-to-face, it's still, so notes are ready and, class is over at 2 p.m., whatever. Some students, they don't have access or they cannot get, their computer is broken or whatever. You can just print from the department. It's a silly thing I'm saying. Print from the department takes 5 minutes. You can distribute that student as a hand notes. For other students, you just post it. Just a simple idea, you can help even one more level,
Right.
Something like that.
Aradhana, you're so right, because
all right, yeah.
in our classroom, our students have different levels of comfort with technology or different abilities and access. And so, for example, when I was teaching synchronously through Zoom, some students discovered they could write on my whiteboard, or they could type on there and share, where others were challenged and could see other students writing and typing, but they just never really got that comfort, or haven't helped them. They had a Chromebook and could just barely stay in the classroom, much less actually participate. And so that was helpful. I also found that I learned a lot of how to type and write in Microsoft Word, so that students could have it as a Word document. I see Mary Ann with your hand up. Please jump in, Mary Ann.
Yeah, I teach on campus through Zoom and also at home through Zoom. And when I'm on campus, I have the ability to use the smartboard. So then I can share that smartboard. They're also the Word documents that, they're the question, and then you populate them. But I also will take the laptop with me and sign in, as we've already talked about, multiple devices. The problem that I ran into on campus was the microphone in the laptop wasn't the best. And when I turned, the students couldn't hear me that well. So the IT department provided me with a better microphone that would pick me up a little bit better. So that helped. And when I'm at home, I have an iPad that the school gave me. So I log in twice. So on the iPad, I can then share my screen, open up the Word document, and actually write on it so they can see what I'm writing. And then I'm logged into my regular computer so I can see the chats that are coming up. I can see the participants, and I can also see the share screen that I'm sharing from the iPad. So I know they're seeing what they should be seeing. So that's the way that I'm doing that. Now we do have what's called a D10, capital D-T-E-N, that's now in the classroom. I don't know if anybody has used it. And I've been able to replace the laptop in the classroom with that. So it's just like a great big laptop, because the classroom computer does not have a microphone or the video. That's why I needed the laptop. But with the D10, it has both those features and it's a much bigger screen. So I found that is helpful. If I try to write on a whiteboard, it reverses what's written when you use the laptop. That's why I have to have the smart board, but I do have that ability. I don't know how you do the document camera though. I'm lost on that one.
There's some way that you can reverse that though in a setting in Zoom so that they see it the other way.
Because initially that's what I tried to do. This was back in 2020, when everything was going crazy. And I tried taking the laptop into the classroom and just putting it in front of the smart board. And I realized that the person was like a mirror image. They weren't seeing it the way I wanted to see them. And that's when I realized if I shared the screen, then they would see exactly what I had and what I was writing.
There is a setting in Zoom that you just click the box and it'll flip that around. So if you kind of dig into the settings, there is a little box you can check that says, I don't want the mirror image.
Oh, all right. Good to know. Okay.
I also
learned something new.
Yeah, I will also say it is technology, so there are drawbacks, but if you use like Microsoft OneNote, I don't know if any of you use that program, but it's shareable. So I build my notes in OneNote, and then I just share a link to my students, and my students can go in there and look at what we've done in class without me having to do a thing. It's wonderful because immediately it's uploaded to the cloud, and immediately they can click on that link at any point and view what's been written. So it's as long as it's in my OneNote file, they can see it. So my notes are built there and they can see it immediately. Some students even bring it up in class because they like to see something closer to them than the overhead. So that's another way that you can kind of provide those notes for your students.
Kathleen and Jennifer. So Kathleen, you're teaching statistics, you said, correct? Can you see this page I'm showing here?
Yes.
So I went to one of the Ematic, this webinar by XYZ Pratt McKees, and he has this book which is free. So you just need to go to this website, wherever this says, I think Google it XYZ or something. If you contact this, I think whoever that person is here, then they will send this to all of your students, this textbook in the form of a newspaper. And that's a free of cost. You don't need to do anything. Okay, only thing you have to do is tell the address of each student. They'll send to the student's home address. So one way you can you can relax, like definitions in the statistics that is covered here, or a bunch of problems even. They can get access to it. It's free of cost. And they can get the online assignment. If you go to this, whatever that says, co-requisite statistics course, if you're teaching whatever material, you can, this is free and it's with his student, they're going to have it. So no technology.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's cool. We use a different book that has an online system, has online homework and videos and things, but I have seen Pat's, what he created there, and it's pretty cool.
So I love that we're in a talk about effective, oh, hold on. Sorry, the cat tempted the dog. So we're in a talk about technology and effective teaching, but sometimes old school can be really great. So Aradhana, uses those free resources and also a document camera and with writing things out. So that's something really helpful.
Well, Jennifer, I don't know, you're unmuted now. I was gonna say, do you want to ask the next question or you want to what would you like to do
Sure.
next, Jennifer?
So we have all these essential technology elements that we've had to incorporate through our distance learning, even more than when we originally started teaching online, right? What is something that you discovered that's made a positive impact on your classes? So I'll tell you, the past year, I have, for example, learned about Jamboard, but it didn't make a positive impact in my classes because I never really got a chance to implement it. And so there's technology I've heard of, but haven't actually had a chance to use. So is there something that you've discovered that you feel has had a positive impact on your classes that you'll continue to use?
I learned about GeoGebra. I mean, I knew GeoGebra, but I never used it. But in some of my videos, since I'm teaching asynchronous, I do in my, like when I'm recording the Zoom, I do open the GeoGebra, go to that, whatever, if I'm teaching about lines or whatever that is, go to that particular resource in the GeoGebra, like, okay, click here, go do that, look this, all the, lines or slopes or something like that. So that was helpful, but I didn't use that many of resources in GeoGebra, but it's a very, very good resource there, GeoGebra.
Oh.
So, and a student said that they really liked it. So, but it's like you just open their eyes, like here is just go and see, some of them you just have to provide the link. That's like, okay, you can just do as extra, or if you have time or something like that.
Cool. So again, I've heard of GeoGebra, but it's something I haven't had a chance to use. So that's one thing that I think is kind of exciting. Is there something else that you all have discovered from the, from the pandemic to improve your distance learning? I know we are under a lot of pressure to transition quickly, so sometimes we forget what a leap we've made.
I heard about Desmos, but not get a chance to use yet because I'm not that comfortable with Desmos so far. GeoGebra is like, in my thesis, I was writing something and I wanted the LaTeX code. So that's how I know GeoGebra. And then I was comfortable, but Desmos is another tool for, graphical presentation or things like that. And, but I didn't get a chance to use yet. Maybe I'll use if I teach our pre-calculus or something like that.
Yeah, I agree that Desmos is a fantastic tool. If you have students work through a few problems, you can kind of set it up in activities and see where the students are and see who's finished and who's stuck somewhere. And it's a really nice tool.
I agree.
Yeah, I would throw out, I think that's one of the things that I do miss sometimes because I was teaching. I've taught online asynchronous forever and I always felt disconnected from students. So it was cool to go live synchronous last fall on Zoom and they didn't all show their faces, but it was just like we could interact with each other. I think I miss some of those in the face-to-face classroom. I know there's ways to do it with poll everywhere and different things like that, but I miss being able to have, I feel like, more information from even the quiet students, not just the ones that are willing to talk. And I still walk around and I listen to them and ask questions, but a lot of those tools are good at eliciting things from the ones that are pretty quiet.
So one thing Kathleen worked out, since I'm also teaching online asynchronous and I don't get my student, I don't get to see, but first meeting I did as an introductory and many of them joined. So I can see their face, how they look. Another thing, I asked them to share their phone number. Sure, you don't provide yours, but let them share. Then it depends how much you want to invest time. Let's say they did an assignment and they didn't do something well. Then you pick up your phone, maybe don't put your phone number, whatever technology is that, and just call the student and teach. And then ask the student to join the meeting right now, like if they have time for 5 minutes. That's how I interact, even though it's asynchronous, online asynchronous. And many of the students really, like at the end, when they write this teacher's evaluation, they really appreciate that I put that effort, like pick the phone, call them and ask them to join the 2, 3, 5 minutes, 10 minutes or whatever, where their mistakes is and how they can avoid those mistakes. Yeah, it will take time and and a lot of effort.
Ivan's got his hand up. Ivan, please go.
I just wanted to say that the Desmos activities help a lot, at least in my case, because through these activities, students get a chance to go through challenges that are most of them open-ended questions where there is not just one single answer. So there is room for working collaboratively. There is room for suggesting things, and I've been using these activities. The students really like them, and it gives again a chance for the students to compare what their peers have posted and stuff like that. So I think it's a good tool, and it's open educational resources, so you can just give them the link and they can install it on their own computers and use it as many as times as they need to master the topics. That's all.
Yeah. And so in the chat early in the session, someone was saying they were looking for free resources and free technologies to help with their distance learning and or even just their teaching. And for sure, GeoGebra, Desmos, Kahoot, all these programs are free and accessible for teachers and students. So that's something I think that's really positive. I agree with you. I do love the collaborative nature. In addition, for the student who has to miss class, they can still see the activity and participate afterwards if necessary, because they can, get a code. And same thing with Kahoot. Is there anyone else out there? Let's have just some kind of reaction. Does anybody else use Kahoot quizzes at all in your classes? I love them. Angela, do you use any?
Yes, I've used those in my live sessions. The only problem I have is some of the students just are, they're a little, they're slower to get the questions.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had issues. I had to work on it. It was trial and error about the timers on the questions. And so you kind of have to play around with how your class works. Because some of them, they felt like they knew they ended up, they got the answer, but they just took longer than some of the other students. And then they got kind of, I don't want to say upset, but then they kind of quit participating because they weren't getting the answers on time. So I had to kind of adjust the timer settings, and I ended up taking the timers off so I could manually flip through it.
Wow, that's cool. I didn't know you could turn the timer off in Kahoot. That's nice to know. So if you haven't used it before, I've spelled it for you here. But I think it's just kahoot.com. And then when you want to play a Kahoot, it's like kahoot.it. And you can also download it as an app. And Angela, it was good to hear you say that, because I found any question that's longer than about 60 seconds, many of my students who are struggling check out, and they will just sit there and wait for the time to go up before they, just to see what the answer is. So I'm trying to think, if you don't know what Kahoot is, it's an online game where students log in using their phone or their laptop, and they can make their own little name. So you can have, sometimes students will be like, I'm going to win it all, or just something fun for a name. And then you have questions pop up on the screen, and you have 2 to 4 answers, or it could be true, false. You can pay money for more advanced features, but I only do the free resources. And you can set the timer to 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 60 seconds or more. And I do a lot of really conceptual questions, or ones that they can do within that time where they're not working out a long problem. Because just exactly like Angela said, if the students don't understand how to do the problem, a lot of times they'll just give up and wait for it. So since not as many of you are familiar with that, is there anybody else who has a program to share or something that you've really liked? I know
Jennifer, with Kahoot, does it have equation editor? I remember when years ago, it did not have equation editor, so I've given up using it. So it does have it now?
Yes, it does have it now. In fact, they've
Ah.
implemented
Wow.
several new features that are very useful. And I've become very proficient in going into Desmos, snipping taking a small screenshot of like a Desmos graph or something, and then putting it into my Kahoot quiz. And so you can say, where is this graph increasing? Or true, false, the graph is continuous everywhere, or just however you want to do it. So it just with any technology, how you use it, is part of what makes it effective. So the way you ask questions is really good. And, whether you have them timed to keep things moving and to keep them engaged, I'll do some great little true false questions and mix it up. And then also what Angela said, to remove the timer if necessary, so she can gauge what's happening in her classroom. It's great that you have that flexibility.
Yeah, that made me think of something I wanted to throw out, because Desmos is amazing, but sometimes people get overwhelmed with it because there's so much you can do with it. So one thing I would suggest to people, if they haven't, if you've never done like Desmos, the activities with students, like synchronously, it can be really cool. And I've used them in class, and it's a lot of fun. You're going to have a little bit of a learning curve, and like anything with technology. But one thing that is super useful about it is just the graphing calculator side of Desmos, being able to make graphs for your own uses and being able to pull it up in class and demonstrate with it. It's phenomenal for that. And so it's something like, if you want to kind of put your toe in the water of Desmos, it's a really accessible way to get going with it, and start to see some of the power of it. And as someone who's made so many graphs over the years, and like every program that's ever existed, like, I don't know, does anybody remember Graph GV? That was something you could download and you could make graphs on. It is so nice being able to make things in Desmos. Like, it is light years easier than making them in any place else. And then you can take a screenshot and, you can use them. So I don't work for Desmos, I'm just telling you, and it's free. So you can't beat that.
So Kathy, I couldn't agree more. I have integrated. I will also tell you all, I was nervous about doing Kahoots in a college class. I was afraid they might think, oh, that's so high school, but what I have found semester after semester is that my students actually ask for more Kahoots than I've made. And, I'll be like, okay, well, do you all have any kind of activity you would like to do next class? I'm like, we want a Kahoot, even more than Desmos or a worksheet or having help me breakout rooms. That's another discussion. But my students have, while there are some who, don't engage with it, the majority of the class engages in a very positive and exciting way. And one of the best things that I have found about a Kahoot is that if I keep it short, I'm able, or short as in, 20 questions, I'm able to find out where they have misconceptions or where they don't understand. And sometimes just doing a Kahoot, if you're doing transformations and they guess wrong or they get the answer wrong on a vertical shift up instead of down, they can actually almost clarify that themselves by seeing, what the right answer is. And so I see what I did wrong. And then the very next question is going to be a downshift. And so did they get that from the first question to the second? So in that case, it facilitates learning, or at least lets you see where they're not understanding something.
And that's super valuable. I think all these tools are only as good as how we use them, and they can all be used well or poorly or whatever. We all know that, just like anything with technology. But I just love that you can increase engagement in the classroom. So if you've got classes where students are just like not engaging with you, you absolutely not, you can't, every day is not going to be a party. I mean, they need to understand that it's like we can't, because Kahoot is fun, but it's like if you did it every day, it wouldn't be as much fun. So it's like sprinkling some of these things the same way with like Desmos, but you can engage students. And I agree with you, Jennifer, you get so much good data that you get to find out where your students are at, that good formative data that we want so that we can adjust for them and for us what we're teaching and what we're focusing on, that you can sometimes get just like walking around and asking questions and doing things, but not for all of them. So I mean, I think that's what's really cool. It's the only thing, I don't know if anybody else is feeling this, it's kind of overwhelming when you're in the classroom, remote or live, keeping track of all of these different technologies and students and where you're at. I feel like I already have an element of ADHD in my personality. And if you didn't know that, it's all of a sudden like, now it makes sense. But because I just run from one thing to another, but it almost exacerbates it with all of that because there's just so many things to keep track of.
I want to share one very exciting thing I learned. In GeoGebra, you can do 3D virtual. You can make stuff 3D virtual. I think so. I want to share. Is that possible? I can share the screen here?
I think so.
Okay, so let me share. Only host can share.
Oh, Banaz, can you allow it
for
for her to be able to share?
Banaz, you're muted.
Sorry, yeah. Aradhana, I just made you a co-host. Go ahead.
So before I show, let me just say, let's say if you're teaching a calculus course or calculus 3 or whatever, 2 or 1, and at some point you want to say a surface of revolution, and you literally want a student to see it. Okay, I didn't find that video, but you can find on in the YouTube, but let me show you what I found right now. It's the name of the person who creates this video is called Tim Brzezinski, and I'll take you, and he is teaching kids.
You can also share the link in the chat.
See that? I will, but here is the cool thing. So he created the cylinder in GeoGebra, and
really
now he's
right
in
now.
his home
So
making
sorry
the
for the mess.
the
Here we
cylinder
go.
and the glass.
Boom.
I'll show you how
Hit
it
that.
works.
All right. I'm actually going to go to
I'm showing
settings.
you
I'm
so
going to
that you
hide the
see
gray
that
plane.
it's very
I don't want to
effective.
show that.
That's his
I can
home.
alter
There's
it
a
here right
cylinder,
in my
he's gonna have
virtual
a glass.
environment here. Hit the down arrow. Give me a
Have you
second.
picked
See that?
share screen yet? I'm not
A
seeing
little crooked on my device
Oh.
here. I have to tilt.
I'm sharing.
You need to stop share, Jennifer.
There you go.
Can you see
That's
now?
all right.
Oh, very
3D.
cool.
Make sure it's
So
closed out.
he created a
first. It
cylinder
is.
and he
Here,
gave us
If I go to settings,
that, here is the glass
I can
he has.
actually
And
change
see
the
that he
color
fits
to
that.
this
It's a
nice
virtual thing he created.
turquoisey blue.
And
That might show up a
kids,
little bit better.
I mean, not sure. We are all
So
college
contrast is better there. So check this
instructor,
out.
but we can do
Right,
some
here we go.
activity like that where a student really will love you.
Get it from regular.
His name is Tim Brzezinski. He has
And that,
many
ladies and
videos,
gentlemen, lies the power.
for,
That's the power of GeoGebra 3D
fantastic, teaching
with
math
augmented
virtually.
reality. On the Acer Google Chrome
So,
tablets here,
anyway,
this
so,
augmented reality
you
is
can,
powered by AR
if
Core
you
by
guys teach in
Google.
calculus or
It's an
something,
app
you want
that's
to
hidden on
make
any
the
Android
surface of
device or a device
revolution,
like this Acer
and then you
Chromebook, and
can
it gets better
use his
every
techniques
update. I get an
to
update about
ask the
once a
student
week,
create
auto
that
updates.
and see.
Aradhana,
Yeah.
Sorry, it was just hard to hear you for that moment.
Oh, I was saying that, let's say if you're teaching a student, surface of revolution. So you gave a curve, you're saying some axis and you're revolving. And it's hard to literally say that. But a student can create that and virtually in their home, and they can see how their surface is going to look like. Like he created the cylinder from, and then he had a glass. And he had some idea of the glass, like a diameter or something. And he had, or the base circle, he has the diameter, and the top circle, he has the diameter. You can precisely say that. That's how he's saying. And then he had the glass, he made the virtual cylinder and it fitted. So you can see, I was really amazed when I saw that.
Cool. Very cool.
Really, really amazed. Because a student can see things. Anyway, I was just excited.
Could you copy the link and put that into the chat?
His name is Tim. Yeah, I'm going to that particular thing. I will copy that. And if you Google, go to YouTube and his right there, his name. He has like plenty of video, and I think I follow him, what he's up to. So name is Tim Brzezinski.
I think it's fun to discover different resources and people that you can follow online. I know
Yes.
I'm a big fan of graphs in the world, and I avoid social media extensively, but I've created, either had used some activities that were created or incorporated some of the graphs in the world reflections into my activities. And so anytime you can find a good resource, it's funny because I had someone just this semester say, I don't know if you all are aware of it, but I found this great library of videos, and it was Patrick JMT. And one of my colleagues who retired is like, oh, I've used that for, 10 years, but there's still new people discovering these resources. And that's one of the things I love about these sharing meetings. It's great. And so even if you might have used GeoGebra, maybe you didn't know it had that 3D.
But yeah. That's like makes it real life for a student. Like they will be very happy to see if they can make the surface of revolution, and they can actually measure it. Like if you do something like, or take up, he makes like a basketball. So he asked the student to make the basketball, and virtually they take it and they have the basketball in their home, and he shows that how he fits, and his kids, how they get excited. I was just very happy.
Cool. All right. So I feel like we did kind of discuss using HighFlex in a different model of teaching. We've also kind of considered how you manage in-person students and remote students at the same time. I would just like to say it's certainly exhausting, and I'm trying to think. Oh, she's not here, but we were talking about people teaching multiple formats, and some of the technology you can use no matter what format you're using. So that's a real benefit of some of these technologies. Did you all have anything else to add about your current practices with your in-person, hybrid, or distance learning?
He's asking could you explain what is HighFlex?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So our poor children, my husband teaches at a local college here, Bellarmine University. And so we both teach math. HighFlex is teaching both in person and virtual kind of at the same time. That's one meaning. So just like hybrid has multiple meanings, different colleges use hybrid different way. So our college uses hybrid, where you meet in person 1 day a week, and then you work asynchronously virtually the second day of the week. That's how our college defines hybrid. But at the other university, HighFlex allows you to do virtual synchronous in addition. So that's something that my college didn't allow without special permission. So yeah, I did throw the word HighFlex out there, but it can mean different things to different colleges. But that's what I've heard it used as, is more of a remote synchronous schedule, where you're not, or you're both simultaneously in person and virtual in the same classroom. And that's something Kathy had mentioned that students are wanting now. That fits right in with the question about the adjustments that we've had to make, and what expectations, what change in expectations we've seen from the students, right? So are you all seeing a different change from your students and what they're looking for in the classroom post-pandemic?
Because I wanted to throw one out, and I definitely want to hear from you guys, and I think it was just because we've already had cases in my class. I've already had multiple students either quarantined, positive, both, the whole 9 yards. We're only in week 4. And then I had to be gone last week for 1 day because of a migraine, and 1 day because my husband had surgery. And so I realized it's like for either them or me, there was going to be a lot of movement this semester in terms of, typically I don't miss, but I did in that case. But what was cool was we were able to continue on. I still had things for them that they did asynchronously, or the ones that were supposed to. did it, not all of them, of course. So we had a conversation yesterday about that part. But I'm finding that they do want it all. And I understand that. And it's, you guys have given me some good ideas. I can't give all to them, but they want to have all the benefits of remote, and they want to be able to have all the benefits of in class either way, which I guess, Trish, is what you're saying, like they could have either way whenever they want. So I'm trying to accommodate that, and not especially in the case of ones where they're physically not allowed to come to class. So I don't want them to, be behind, and I don't want them to have a subpar experience. What else are you guys noticing? What is the pandemic, how has that influenced different things in your classes?
One thing I've had to kind of adapt to is, well, this is also just for my regular asynchronous online classes, but also with our, again, our college has the high flex model. And so we're supposed to offer an in-person class teaching at the same time that we stream live, but we're also supposed to allow students to not attend class and do things asynchronous. I'm not necessarily on board with this model. I'm just saying this is what our college is doing. So I'm finding it difficult where, how can you hold them to the same standards? Because you're doing things in class where it's live, you have the interaction with the students. So how do you have, the asynchronous as well? And again, you're thinking about, I don't count attendance as part of their grade, but you know what I mean? So but you're still are wanting them to make sure they're keeping on track with things. The one thing I haven't tried it yet. I wanted to see if anybody else had done this. Does anybody else use, I think they're called video quizzes, where you have a video and then you add questions in there? I'm not sure if this is a KCTCS thing for our statewide college or just my college, but the college purchased a contract with, I think it's called Yuja, YUJA. And so it's basically just for recording a video. You can also upload videos to it. And then so you can add questions to the video, but you can also, we are using this program because we can attach these videos to our LMS courses easily for sharing. And so I guess I'm just struggling with that again, kind of making sure everybody's on track, even though they're all in the same course. And so if I can get something like that to work for my hybrid, or high flex, then I might be interested in doing that for my asynchronous. I'm sure I'm not the only one who, if you use a product and it gives you an average time for the student spent on the video. So like you have a 5-minute video and the average time spent in the video is 32 seconds, because students just click on the video. And like with Pearson, my lab, if they click on the video link, they get credit for it. Mm-hmm. They don't actually have to watch, the video. And so I was thinking about trying video quizzes to make, you can't ask a lot of questions, but you could at least put like stoppers in there. So that way to make sure students are doing those to get credit. I don't know.
Angela, if I may, I hear you. And I worked so hard last semester. Last year we had a different program than usual, something called Techsmithnomia, and I used the flipped classroom format, and which I love. I feel like that's a little bit different because it's not necessarily a technology, but we use technology to flip the classroom. And we made, there was a team of us that made a bunch of videos and recorded them. The first time I started doing them, I incorporated quiz questions at different points, what is the answer to this or that. But then I put the videos into my LMS and assign a grade. And Blackboard actually gives a score based on the percent of the video that they watch. Now, we all know the end around to this. The student could have the video playing on their computer and not be watching it. But we also, when we created these videos, we created them to match these guided notes. In fact, we created notes first. So we had a whole set of notes, and then they were that we used for the videos. And we give those to the students either electronically, or I used to leave copies at the library. So we printed them free of cost to the students, and the students would complete the notes. So to ensure that the students watch the videos, I would give them a grade for having the notes completed. And then the benefit was, well, for us, the videos matched many of the examples in the textbook, but not all. So they could also see some of them in the textbook as well as the videos. So a couple possible ways you can work this is, instead of having the videos be in Pearson, you could have them in like an LMS, and then the grade assigned to it would be based on the percent that they watch, or to have some kind of quiz. I have one last idea on that somebody did for reading quizzes. Oh, very nice, Karen. Thank you. Yeah, right. But they did for their readings 8 true or false questions, and you had to get all 8 of them right to get 1 point. So there's so many different possible answers, right? 2 to the 8th, that it wasn't worth guessing for the students. It was easier for the students to do the reading or watch the video to get the information and answer the 8 questions. And we all know what students will do to get that 1 point before class. So, but as a teacher, can you imagine how much that takes to come up with 8 questions for every reading and program that into your LMS? That's a whole nother project. But okay, so sorry for jabbering away. Does someone else have ideas or experience with these areas?
I want to throw one in there that I just found the name of another product, Edpuzzle. I believe it allows you to embed quizzes in videos. So I was searching for that, but I was listening. I'm sorry, Banaz, go ahead.
Yes, so I just want to say that this semester I started using Lumen for my pre-calculus, and I have incorporated video assignments into the course. Those video assignments are in my LMS. We use B2L. So they watch a video and there is a question. So I usually, every video assignment has 2 videos. So they watch the first video, they answer a question, another video, they answer another question. And it has been very successful because I never had students reading the textbook. It's a digital textbook, but now they ask me questions from the textbook, which is amazing. So it means that they actually go to the textbook to and they ask me questions. You know, I got stuck on this because it is ongoing. These are short, 2 questions, 2 videos. Each video they watch answer a question, and some of the questions are, say, 2 or 3 parts. And for some sections of the book, they might have 2 video assignments or maybe 3 video assignments. So it just checks their knowledge as they move along, which I found it very, very helpful and useful. But the final question I have for the group is that it might not be a bad idea for the group to, if we have some kind of repository of the kind of OERs that we use, that the membership of ANATIC, that they use these OERs and the success rate. Because I think right now it's like we are shooting in the dark, whatever, you know, OER we come across, we say, okay, let's use this, let's use that. But it would be a great idea to have a repository with comments, so that safe, and there is a push, big push, you know, for schools to go with OERs because of, you know, to avoid students paying. I mean, with Lumen, every student just pays $25 for the entire semester. And it is great. I found it very, very useful. So this is my recommendation. I don't know who wants to take it up, whether your committee, Jennifer, the future committee, But this is something for us all to be working on it collaboratively so that, you know, we can create that repository for everyone. It looks like we have 5 o'clock sharp. Thank you so very much, Kathleen and Jennifer, for your time and for facilitating the discussion this afternoon. We really appreciate your time for being here and look forward to future collaborations with all of you. Please do attend these faculty meetup. This is a great space for us to brainstorm about different technology, different issues. In fact, we started a working group that is coming up end of this month. It is on mindfulness. It is a monthly working group that will be working. So it's going to be a different version of a faculty meetup. And then we have faculty meetup coming up in the month of October. That is on research, part 2 of research. Aratana is going to facilitate that. And then we have in the month of November, we can't get enough of these faculty meetups. We have a book club that is meeting in November, and then we'll close the shop for the year. So thank you so very much for being here. And I am going to stop recorder. And then if anyone wants to say anything off the record,